Hello, welcome to another episode of Barber's Lifestyle Podcast. Today we'll be talking about how not to undercut your coworkers in the shop when it comes to pricing. We'll be right back. Yes, so today's topic, we want to talk about the prices in the shop should always be uniform, like from the top barber down to the newest barber. There should be always an understood price in the shop. So the top barber, let's say this barber's been cutting well over 20 years, and his set price is say $45. The new barber just coming in has no real clientele, so there should be like a minimum. A minimum, like, let's say this dude is cutting for $25. You know, still a professional cut, but not the quality as the top earner in the shop, right? So when I say don't undercut, I'm talking about barbers that's like pretty much on the same level when it comes to quality of cut. Okay, I'm not talking about a new barber compared to a seasoned barber. So the two barbers that's basically cutting on the same level should always charge the same price in the shop. And so many times, you know, the barbershop is pretty much like a family atmosphere. A lot of times we go out and play pool together. We might go out and eat together. But the number one thing that will ruin that whole family vibe in the barbershop, let somebody undercut another barber. So let's say that the barber or the shop goes up on a price point and one of the top barbers, customers, I'm not paying that. I can't pay that. But then try to go to one of the other barbers later on, like maybe outside the shop or through a phone call or through social media and say, listen, man, can I come get a cut from you? Because he's charging me $45 and I really want to only pay $30. And so sometimes the barber might be slow. You could be slow and be like, all right, well, come on, I'll take $30. But guess what you just did? You just ruined the atmosphere and the relationship between coworkers in the barbershop because you probably was slow, and I understand that, but you just committed like the biggest sin when it comes to barbering. Like you undercut your coworker, right? So now this coworker has to see his client come into the shop and get in your chair, and only because you charged lower than the main barber, the same barber, your coworker. You charged a little bit less to get this guy in your chair. And typically, people who do that, people who is willing to pay you less and will come to you faithfully, are the ones that won't respect your time. If you set an appointment with them, they won't show up on time. They're gonna come when they want. They're gonna pop in the shop and say, yo, how many you got? When they know already that you cut by appointment. So that's the kind of client you're gonna get when it comes to when you undercut somebody, because that client is only looking for me. I'm worried about me. I want to get a cut for the price I want to pay, and I want to get a cut when I want to get a cut. That they're just going to be like the worst client because you took them in the worst situation. I don't want to pay that, but I'm gonna come to you, and you're gonna be my barber from now on. Yeah, but you're going to have a lot of headaches with that cat because he's not going to respect anything. He didn't even respect the first rule of law that when the shop went up in prices, that's what everybody charged, especially the same quality barbers. They're not going to respect none of that because he didn't respect the first rule. So guess what's going to happen now? He's going to keep coming to you. He's not going to be consistent, and he's going to pay you that $35, whatever it was. So, in my opinion is, if you want to keep the shop family oriented, you want everybody to vibe and be okay and have no animosity in the shop, please do not undercut your coworkers. Now, another point I want to talk about when it comes to being a barber, I'll tell you a backstory about me. When I started cutting, as I said in other videos, I loved cutting. Like, to me, it wasn't like I was going to a job, right? Because I loved it so much. And so I thought about longevity. I thought about what would it be to be cutting at a lot older. So the barbers that I went to when I was young were older barbers. And I didn't think that they had retirement aspirations. I just thought they were just going to keep cutting. And that's exactly what they did. They cut until they passed away. And so I saw myself like cutting at an older age because that's what I saw. And so it was never a thing where I needed to put money aside or have a retirement plan. I'm going to just keep cutting. Because cutting is my life. I love cutting so much because it gives me two things. I can cut hair and I can talk trash all day about anything. We can talk about sports. We can talk about every and anything. And I love being in the center of all conversations because I think I know everything, right? So I'm going to talk about barbers creating a savings plan for yourself, for your family. So I heard one barber, a master barber, say every barber should put up $20 a day. So if you work 7 days a week, 6 days a week, 5 days a week, that's a nice bit of change, because once it compounds, you'll start saving a nice bit of money. And that's just $20. That's like let's say if you charge $40, that's a half of a haircut a day throughout the entire week. So it's creating a savings plan. And then the other thing is you got to put it somewhere where you just cannot touch it. If you see that thing get to 15, 20,000, I got to do something with this. But the main thing is it's supposed to be, make it do what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be for a retirement plan, then let it be for that. You know, you can take it in and move it into an investment, but let the investment be part of your retirement. So it's very, very important when you have children, grandchildren, that you create some type of savings plan so that when you retire, you don't have to cut until you're 80. Your back hurt, your feet hurt, and your hands a little shaky. Because I know when I was little, it was a running joke with another barber that I didn't go to, that his hands would shake until he put the clippers on you. When he put the clippers on you, his hand got real steady. But his hands were shaky up until that point. But you don't have to cut that long if you create a savings plan for yourself. Now, there's some bankers that you might be able to go to and work something out with a bank where you can create some type of savings plan where your retirement looks bright. Okay, so you don't have to cut until you're 70, 80 years old. You can cut to 60, 65 and literally just retire and take care and enjoy life. But it's nothing against, if you want to keep on cutting and you want to cut until you're 70, 80, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm speaking of retirement, because a lot of barbers, when I started cutting, nobody talked about retirement. Everybody was like, well, I'm gonna just keep cutting. There was no talk about a retirement plan or savings plan. There was nothing. It was about taking care of my life right now. I'm paying the bills that I need to pay right now. If you were able to save up 10, 15,000, you was able to save it, but it wasn't particularly towards a savings plan for retirement. What I'm talking about is a retirement, not savings, but a retirement. So that once you reach a certain point, because bankers can tell you, like, if you want to retire at this age and you want to retire with whatever comfort level, you need to save this amount daily, weekly, or monthly, or yearly. They can tell you that, can give you that information. So you need to figure out what it is that you want to do, when you want to retire, and if you want to retire at 50 and you want to retire with 200,000 in the bank, what it looks like for you to be able to save that money daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And then you got to figure out an action plan. How am I going to get that? Right? So you want to have to figure it out. It's something you got to figure out. And I implore you, it's very important to figure it out, because retirement, like I cut a lot of retirement people that's my age that retired, like literally retire, and they don't do anything. It's not like they retire and say, well, I gotta go to Walmart and be a greeter, or go to Home Depot and work at Home Depot. Like they literally retire and are not doing anything. Now they were not barbers. They were like social workers, or my neighbor, he retired from the police department, and so he just chills all day. Like he doesn't go work. He did the right thing with his retirement, and he literally chills all day. And so, I mean, I really want people to understand, to see how important it is to have some type of savings plan. So have a savings plan, have a retirement plan, and don't undercut the barbers you work with. And so you can even take that and make it to where you don't undercut the barbers in the neighborhood. So let's say if it's 3 barbershops in a 4 or 5 block radius, and the average cut is 40. Guess what? You shouldn't do. You shouldn't then be in the shop cutting for 20 or 25 to undercut the neighborhood. And then barbers, people, just the customers are walking in and they like, yeah, the boy down the street trying to charge 45. Man, mess with him. Don't mess with him. Come on over here. I charge you 25. And then sit in the chair and backbite the barber down the street. You know, that's code number 2. You should never backbite another barber. Like if a customer comes in to me and start complaining about how this other barber from wherever, from down the street, across town, want to complain about what he did to your hair, I'm not going to engage in that conversation. I'm going to cut it off by saying, well, I'm going to take care of you right now. I'm going to try to give you the best cut that I can provide for you. But I'm not going to be in the chair or standing with this guy trying to tear down the barber down the street. That's code number 2 you should never do as a barber, is to destroy another barber. Be in a conversation with another client, with a client, talking about how bad another barber treated them, cut their hair, or anything. It should not happen, because all he's doing is picking a fight and pitting y'all between each other. And you could be cool with the guy down the street. So guess what he probably going to do? He's going to go back, because what if it's something that you did to his hair that he don't like? He's going to go right back down the street and tell that guy exactly what was said, except for his version. It's going to be his version. Yeah, boy down the street don't like you. Yeah, he was tearing you up, talking about you're not cutting all this. Yeah, I've seen it. And now he pitting 2 barbers that's probably cool and is causing friction between them, just so he can get a lower cut, lower price, or better cut from down there at possibly a lower price. Because he can go down there and tell him he charged me this. Hey, look what he did to my hair. Can I get a cut real quick? I only got this. And then the barber down there is going to be like, all right, I'll do it for that lower price point, but just to figure out what is going on, what was said. And now he down there tearing you up out the frame. And now you got 2 barbers for only reason because this client wanted a cheaper cut. And now these guys probably don't speak no more, have animosity towards each other. You know what I mean? Don't. So the code number 2 is do not backbite other barbers, period. Rather they're in your shop, in your neighborhood, in your city, in another city, in another state, in another country. Don't do it. We have to have solidarity to where barbers are one. If you didn't like what he did and you come to me, I'm going to try to give you the best service that I can without destroying that barber down the street. And then see, once he start getting that cold shoulder when it comes to talking about the other barber, he's going to stop because you're not going to engage. Like, nah, I don't have to say no. I know how to get around it. Really? Wow. How you want your fade? How much you want off the top? You want the back faded out? Don't engage. Just don't do it. Just don't engage. So I know I covered a lot of stuff today, but this is important stuff, man. You can't undercut the people you're working with, and you have to create a savings plan, a retirement plan, and a savings plan. You have to do both. And so in order for you to figure out those numbers, you might want to sit down with a professional. Or you can try to figure it out yourself so that when you go to the professional, you can say, hey, listen, this is the ballpark of where I wanted to be when it's time for me to retire. So how can I get there? And most financial professionals will love to sit down and talk to you. They will love it. I guarantee you they will love it. And most of those services are free, especially just to sit down and talk to them. I think most of those services are free, and they should be able to get you where you need to be, and whatever portfolio, they'll put a portfolio together for you, and you just have to stick with making those payments. You have to make those payments. So again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Barber's Lifestyle Podcast, and adios.